I mentioned something to Sherry about still being called Pakistan in transition to democracy. And I mentioned that because when we talk of consensus within Pakistan, there seems to be, even now, particularly when I go on in media, this feeling that Pakistan is still controlled by the military. In fact, frequently the questions are that has the military approved this, or has the military given their approval and sanction to this? The fact is that after 5 years, one government has completed its tenure and a new one has come in. And clearly what is not being recognized is that the space for the politician, for leadership by the political class is not only much greater, but possibilities of even taking very strong steps forward and taking the military and everybody else along with it. And I mention this because when we talk of consensus, I think the question does arise, well, if there is a political consensus, does this political consensus also mean that the military is on board? I would say that yes, and even if the military has reservations, the political leadership has the capacity to take the military along with it. So I think on this question, we need to have some clarity. Secondly, of course, apart from the political parties, and I think maybe it's necessary to define this, because Mr. Panda said that is the consensus wide and deep enough that the three major parties in the parliament virtually have similar views on normalizing relations with India. In fact, other than 3 members in a house of 342 of the Jamaat Islami, I don't think there is, I can't offhand think of any other party which would have totally opposite views to any normalization of relations with India. So I would say civil society, media, political class, and even what we euphemistically call the establishment, all of them are part of this consensus. Now obviously consensus cannot be one-sided. I mean, any move forward cannot be one-sided, and I think that is why since this morning we've been asking this question in different forms, that what is the compulsion, and I think Mohit used the right word. Is there any compulsion for normalization in India, as there seems to be a consensus in Pakistan? So Mr. Panda's presentation was very refreshing and optimistic, and I think that's an interesting thing because it comes from the political class. Because I don't want to say controversial things, but apparently there was an article either in the Foreign Policy or New York Times that the Indian foreign policy has been farmed out to various bureaus, and the bureaus have so much control over it that an overarching vision is sometimes lacking. I think probably it was in the Foreign Policy. By an Indian?
That was by an American.
By an American? Okay, by an American.
Foreign affairs.
Foreign affairs. So I think what that points out to is that is there political leadership which is lacking to overcome all the details that I'm a former bureaucrat myself, so bureaucracies are very good at fishing out all the details, but somebody who can take the leap forward. Of course, the timing question, as has been discussed, is not the right time. It's a very bad time in that sense that we have a consensus in Pakistan, we have a political leader in Pakistan, and as Mr. Panda said that Nawaz Sharif, whom I've known for a long time, he's a political opponent, but I do believe that many of his views on relationship with India are deeply felt. They are not just for any kind of political, and it has evolved over a long period of time. It has been an evolution. I mean, Nawaz is my classmate, so I've seen him grow over the years from what he was, and I've seen his political views grow also. And though we as a party are seriously opposed to so many things that he comes up with, and so many projects and vision on domestic issues that he has for Pakistan, but on on the relationship with the India question, I think clearly there is a degree of sincerity. And therefore, it's sad that, well, not sad, but it's tricky that because Indian election is coming up next year, that the space for any kind of serious move forward is not there. I just want to briefly say that there are two aspects which I want to touch because they haven't been touched, but not really. On the question of Mumbai, I think that the fact that now the trial is proceeding apace, and if not on a day-to-day basis, it is happening and evidence is being recorded and so on and so forth, that means that there is a move forward. But I would also say that in case all the procedures of law are not adopted properly, and if there is a rush to judgment, there could be a reaction because people might feel that the due process of law has not taken place. So because it is very important for Pakistan to ensure that there is a due process of law, because as it is, as everybody knows, we are facing serious challenges of terrorism, domestic terrorism from different kinds, sectarian, there is problems in Balochistan, problems in Karachi, problems in Fatah. But if due process is not followed in this trial, then there would be repercussions, even greater repercussions. And I think that is a position that needs to be appreciated, that the due process has to be very strictly, very methodically followed. But so if there were to come about a greater realization, then obviously we need to cooperate with each other on this rather than hold our relationship hostage to the Mumbai tragedy. On the question of, I don't know, as a politician, I find it very difficult to understand that if some positive moves are made by Mr. Manmohan Singh and the Indian Congress Party, it would not pay any kind of political dividend. I just find it hard. And okay, maybe on the visa question or on the trade question, maybe the dividend is not that great because the visibility is not there. But if, for example, something was done on Kashmir, and as an aside, let me mention over here that when a huge opportunity, as everybody now realizes, was missed during the Musharraf period when he came up with his out-of-the-box solution. At that time, Mumbai had not happened. And yet still, there was no move forward. And an opportunity was missed. So, but if we look at some of those formulations that came out at that time, why is it that something cannot move forward on that, on the LOC, making some kind of, and it would also, I think, be of mutual interest because it would make, in some ways, the life of Kashmiris on both sides easier. So I don't see any reason why any kind of political move forward, even within this limited space, will not pay any kind of political dividends. So I think, I don't know whether it would be seen in the same way, but I think if I was a politician and I was going into a tricky election, not sure whether I'm going to win that election or not, I would look for something which is pretty big and try and say, okay, here is something that I have to show you as a success. One thing has been repeatedly mentioned, and of course it is worrying that when some move forward takes place, when some summit takes place, something happens to derail it. And I think it is something that should worry both of us because Brigadier Asad Munir was telling me last night that Al-Qaeda, in their detailed planning, had actually factored in that if we carry out a terrorist attack in India, these X number of Pakistani military formations will have to move towards the border, etc., and which would help them to create what they call a Khorasan autonomous region or whatever in that area. So there are people and bodies who have an interest in creating a problem between India and Pakistan for their own purposes. So are we going to become hostage to that? Are we going to let these people, or are we going to fight this together? Can we find some mechanism of looking at it as a common problem and then dealing with it together? Is there any such possibility? Because nobody can give any guarantee that there would be no other, God forbid, another attack in India. Who can? Or for that, I mean, in Pakistan, we can't give guarantees of what happens in Pakistan. I mean, in the last 30 days of Mr. Nawaz Sharif's government, there have been 31 serious terrorist incidents. There have been terrorist incidents in Quetta in which about 50 people, I think, lost their lives in one go. There have been terrorist incidents in KPK where my party is now in power. So it's difficult for us, and in Lahore, there has been one terror incident in Lahore also. So it's not possible for us to control what is happening. So to hold Pakistan, and I'm not making excuses for what may happen in the future, but all I'm saying is, are we going to allow third parties who are bent upon or who see an advantage in tension between India and Pakistan to derail the entire process? And I think that is something that we need to think about, and something that we need to prepare our people about. Because what happens is that any small incident or big incident, when it happens, the media completely takes over. And when the media takes over, then all space for any kind of political initiative completely ends. So I think as a part of track 2, or as a part of whatever we can do to bring medias on board, there is a need to sensitize people to the fact that this is a common problem being faced by both countries. And somehow that if, God forbid, something like this ever happens again, that we have to understand who all is seeking to benefit from this. So while a year down the line, I can see that by March next year, when the Indian election takes place, as was pointed out by, I think, Mr. Naveed Qamar, that our government would have spent a year. And at the moment, we are all very sort of soft towards each other because a new election has come up, new parliament is there, everybody's saying, we'll cooperate with you, we'll go together forward. What happens a year from now, when a situation may be completely different? So the kind of consensus that we see today may still be there, but it may not, for a government which may have become unpopular by that time, or a government which may have riled up the opposition to an extent that opposition is unwilling to cooperate with it, even on good issues, I mean, that may become problematic a year down the line. So how do we try and take advantage of this period is something that we all have to think about. Clearly from our side, I believe that, and which is what the topic was, from our side, it's the possibility, in fact, the probability is definitely there that Nawaz Sharif will make a move forward, and it depends on how India responds to that. So I think a lot of other things have already been discussed since this morning, so we'll just move forward and wait for the questions.